London, February 14, 2026. It started like many royal dramas do, with something small that spiraled fast, a handbag. But not just any handbag. A rare, custom-made Balenciaga crocodile-embossed clutch, personally ordered by Zara Tindall, Princess Anne's daughter. She'd planned to debut it at the Women and Equine Leadership Gala earlier this month, a moment meant to show off not only her sharp fashion sense, but her rise as a modern, business-minded royal. But the bag never made it to the event. Sources close to the royal wardrobe say the luxury clutch, embossed by hand and marked quietly with Zara's initials, was safely reserved at Balenciaga's London showroom until it mysteriously disappeared just days before her team arrived to collect it. Quiet calls were made behind the scenes, and Balenciaga reportedly issued a polished apology, calling it a logistical mix-up. No official report was filed. Zara kept her composure in public, though insiders say she was furious in private. She chose not to push it further, at least not then. That might have been the end of the story, until the missing handbag suddenly resurfaced in Paris, hanging on Meghan Markle's arm. Meghan was photographed at a private fashion meeting, dressed head to toe in sleek black Balenciaga, carrying what appeared to be Zara's unreleased clutch. The timing was almost too perfect and way too suspicious. The photo spread within Balenciaga's inner circle within 48 hours of the gala, and word is, the reaction inside the fashion house was immediate and handled quietly behind closed doors. Balenciaga, already reviewing Meghan's potential ambassadorship, quietly hit pause on all contract discussions. Zara stayed completely silent, but inside the palace, that old quiet tension between the families started to stir again. For years, Zara Tindall has moved differently from her royal cousins. She's an Olympic equestrian, a businesswoman, a devoted mother, and the wife of rugby legend Mike Tindall. She purposely gave up any royal title, earning respect both inside the royal circle and from the public for staying calm, grounded, and steering clear of the media circus. But lately, Zara's image has evolved into something even bigger. She's become the face of what a modern British aristocrat can look like: confident, polished, and true to her roots. She doesn't chase the spotlight, a senior courtier shared, but when it shines on her, she handles it with pure grace. That's exactly why this Meghan situation cuts so deep. Zara didn't clap back or make a scene. No public statements, no interviews, nothing. Instead, she played it smart. Through her private secretary, she reached out to Balenciaga directly with a respectful but firm request to launch an internal review into how a personally reserved handbag ended up in someone else's hands, especially someone who, according to insiders, had no current partnership with the brand. The difference in how both women handled it couldn't have been clearer. Within just one day of Balenciaga's quiet internal leak, Meghan's team dropped a slick video teaser for a brand new fashion project called Love with Meghan. Palace sources called Meghan's latest move a clear message, and not just aimed at Zara. The timing wasn't random, a fashion publicist close to the situation explained. The handbag wasn't coincidence. It was a statement, a way to show she can still turn heads. But behind the elegant photos and camera flashes, Meghan's influence in the fashion world was starting to look shaky. Even though she showed up at Paris Fashion Week and was seen wearing Balenciaga, supposedly as a guest of creative director Pier Paolo Piccioli, reports later revealed she wasn't actually listed as an official guest by the brand's internal PR or ambassador team. Her name didn't appear on any of the approved partnership rosters, which raised quiet concerns inside Balenciaga's offices. Insiders whispered that her sudden connection to the brand caused unease, especially considering ongoing chatter about earlier style mix-ups that hadn't fully blown over. As for Zara Tindall, her feelings towards Meghan have never been publicly shown, but those close to the royals have long suspected there's no warmth there. While Catherine, the Princess of Wales, always kept things diplomatically polite, Zara never tried to hide her cool distance. A family friend reportedly said Zara found Meghan a bit too calculated, too performative, and honestly exhausting. Even during major royal events, the tension was noticeable. Photos from the Queen's Platinum Jubilee back in 2022 appeared to capture the moment Zara subtly turned away as the Sussexes arrived at St. Paul's Cathedral, a quiet gesture that spoke volumes without a single word. At Prince Philip's memorial, Zara reportedly kept her distance, avoiding any direct eye contact. Insiders say the handbag saga wasn't the real issue. It was just the spark that brought long-standing tension back to life. Zara's mother, Anne, famous for her calm strength and sharp instincts, has never publicly spoken about Meghan, but her complete absence from any event or engagement involving the Duchess of Sussex since 2020 has said more than words ever could. After the handbag controversy erupted, Princess Anne was said to have quietly reached out to Balenciaga through private channels, encouraging them to handle things the right way, with dignity. Her message, insiders claim, was unmistakable. The monarchy doesn't make public threats, but it does remember disrespect, and it never forgets where loyalty lies. What truly separates Zara and Anne from Meghan, according to those close to the palace, isn't just their composure, it's their deep understanding of influence. Anne, as the most senior working female royal, doesn't lead with volume, she leads with legacy. Zara, raised within that legacy, has learned how to carry quiet power. No grand gestures, no public feuds, just quiet precision. They don't fight through the media, and they don't react emotionally, a senior courtier shared. They wait, they let the institution do the talking. And this time, it did. While Meghan's team tried to frame the Paris appearance as pure coincidence, whispers began spreading inside Balenciaga's headquarters. Insiders reportedly flagged concerns about her past professional behavior, especially linked to the now-shelved Ariel wardrobe project. Those whispers didn't stay quiet for long. Within days, they turned into official discussions, and by the end of the week, Balenciaga's legal team had hit pause on every negotiation. Paris, February 15, 2026. The message came quietly, but its impact was explosive. At exactly 11 a.m. Central European Time, Balenciaga's senior legal advisor sent out an internal memo titled Contractual Freeze, Meghan Markle. The memo, which later surfaced among fashion insiders, confirmed that the luxury brand had decided to suspend all ongoing and informal talks with the Duchess of Sussex until questions about product access and brand alignment could be properly reviewed. It sounded polite and procedural, but behind the scenes, it landed like a shockwave. Meghan, who once was rumored to be in line for a major eco-luxury partnership, had just been quietly removed from the list, and Balenciaga made it clear there would be no official announcement, no press statement, no explanation. It was strategic silence, a former brand manager explained. They wanted distance without public drama. But Meghan wasn't staying silent. Within 48 hours, her representatives posted a string of Instagram stories addressing what they described as harmful narratives and institutional barriers, suggesting she was being unfairly excluded from elite creative circles. She didn't name Balenciaga, but the hint was obvious, and people online connected the dots instantly. According to a palace insider, it's the same approach as always, framing herself as misunderstood instead of addressing what actually happened. But this time, the reaction felt different. Public sympathy was fading, and even within industry circles, the mood was shifting fast. While Meghan's team hustled to rebrand her image, teasing a new lifestyle project and reaching out to smaller European designers for fresh collaborations, Zara Tindall took an entirely different route. She stayed completely silent. No statements, no posts, not even a subtle comment. Instead of reacting, Zara made her statement through style. She appeared at the Cartier British Polo Awards in Gloucestershire wearing a flawless white tailored suit from Victoria Beckham's upcoming collection, a subtle but powerful nod of quiet unity. The photos instantly went viral. Fashion critics couldn't stop talking about her look, praising her for her calm confidence, refined simplicity, and that effortlessly regal energy she's known for. Experts quickly caught on. This wasn't just about fashion, it was a strategic move. Zara doesn't chase attention, one Vogue UK editor shared, but when Meghan tried to turn the fashion scene into a loyalty test, Zara didn't move, and somehow the world moved toward her. That one appearance shifted the entire conversation. Just a week later, Harper's Bazaar UK confirmed that Zara had been invited to appear on their next cover. True to form, she politely declined, citing family priorities, but her choice sent a clear message. In the silent battle for image and influence, Zara didn't need to argue or prove anything. Her grace had already spoken for her. Meanwhile, behind the royal scenes, Princess Anne was taking quiet, methodical steps of her own. Palace insiders revealed that Anne had called for a private, family-only review on how those connected to the royals were working with commercial brands. Officially, it was described as a routine check, but the timing raised eyebrows. It aligned perfectly with the growing unease over Meghan's reported use of royal associations in her fashion and branding talks. That's Anne. You'll never see her react, but somehow the entire room shifts around her, one insider said with a knowing smile. Princess Anne had quietly reactivated her private advisory team on royal image, a committee that hadn't been active since the late Queen's passing. Their first mission? To explore how Zara, Lady Louise, and Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, could be further elevated as calm, dignified representatives of the crown. In short, while Meghan was making noise in the media, the real royals were refining their legacy behind closed doors. As Zara's reputation flourished and Anne strengthened her inner circle, Meghan's footing began to slip. Reports surfaced that her Archwell Foundation had drawn attention from U.S. regulators after internal documents hinted at inconsistencies between certain reported expenditures and the actual scope of completed projects. Though nothing was officially confirmed, the rumors were enough to spark a wave of questions online. Adding to the tension, Tyler Perry, once considered Meghan's most loyal friend and supporter in the U.S., was said to have stepped back from offering further financial help. It was a quiet but noticeable shift. Then came the Paris press tour, which didn't land the impact her team expected. One high-profile fashion publicist admitted it felt off-brand, more like she was trying to reclaim the spotlight rather than redefine it. Meghan wanted to project herself as a creative leader, but some in the fashion world were starting to view her differently, as someone who disrupted the flow rather than shaped it. For the first time since stepping away from royal life in 2020, Meghan's influence seemed to be leveling off. The luxury labels that once competed for her attention were keeping their distance. Event invitations were slowing down, and without Prince Harry beside her, who, according to sources, had quietly flown back to the UK for private legal talks with the palace, Meghan's once glittering world was starting to feel noticeably smaller. Her online posts started taking a sharp turn, unpredictable and intense. One moment, Meghan spoke about empowerment and self-growth. The next, she hinted at hidden truths she might eventually be forced to reveal. The undertone wasn't subtle anymore. Meghan's always seen visibility as both her sword and her shield, said a former aide from her team, but this time the audience isn't intimidated. They've moved on. By mid-February 2026, the split was undeniable. The royal family hadn't released a single public comment, yet their silence said everything. The divide was no longer whispers, it was a quiet but unmistakable message. Sides had been chosen. In the hushed halls of Bagshot Park and the private courtyards of Windsor, discussions became deliberate and strategic. Zara Tindall, once viewed as a royal with no official duties, had suddenly become a symbol of calm, class, and quiet strength, not because of any statement or royal order, but because of how she carried herself with pure composure while chaos swirled elsewhere. She didn't need to do anything dramatic. Her silence had become her power. Then came the moment that confirmed what many suspected. Lady Louise Windsor was spotted leaving the back entrance of Zara's London apartment right after the Paris fashion storm took over social media. Wearing a long navy coat and a simple beret, Louise slipped away quietly. No cameras, no entourage, no comment. But for those who follow royal signals, that quiet appearance spoke volumes. Louise and Zara have always shared a rare bond. Both grew up outside the glare of royal duties. Both learned early on how to hold influence without chasing attention. Later that same week, the Duchess of Edinburgh, formerly the Countess of Wessex, was seen hosting Zara Tindall and Lady Louise Windsor at a private equestrian event in Oxfordshire. No press access was granted, and not a single post appeared on social media. Still, insiders confirmed that this wasn't just a casual family outing. It was about steadying the story from within, shared one palace communications officer. Sophie acts as the link between generations. When she steps in, everyone takes note. For months, Sophie had been watching quietly as Meghan's attitude towards Zara shifted. What began as light teasing had become increasingly public. Meghan had once dismissed Zara as unpolished and not media-savvy, but that tune changed fast once Zara began receiving invitations to high-profile diplomatic events and luxury brand collaborations. According to an Archwell insider, Meghan became noticeably frustrated when she learned that Cartier had selected Zara, not her, to co-host the upcoming Windsor Gala. Determined to counter the move, Meghan allegedly reached out to her own team, pushing for a rival campaign to reclaim attention. But that strategy didn't land the way she hoped. It fizzled out almost immediately, leaving her team scrambling to adjust course. Trying to rebuild connections within royal circles, Meghan then turned to Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, her last real ties to the institution. The York sisters had once been friendly and even supportive, but by early 2026, that warmth had cooled considerably. Meghan invited them to a discreet dinner in Mayfair, describing it as a catch-up and moment of reconnection. However, insiders say the real goal of that dinner was more tactical. Meghan allegedly wanted their public backing for a joint statement defending her right to collaborate with luxury brands without royal interference. Beatrice turned down the dinner invite altogether. Eugenie showed up late, stayed barely 40 minutes, and left without saying a word. She was trying to pull them into her back and forth with Zara and Princess Anne, said a former royal liaison. But the York sisters are cautious. They've seen what happens when you speak at the wrong time in the wrong room. Inside the palace, Meghan's latest moves weren't just viewed as bold, they were seen as disrespectful. You can't fake your way into that kind of respect, one insider explained. Zara earned her place through consistency, grace, and credibility. Meghan keeps trying to skip the process that actually builds trust. And while all this unfolded, Princess Catherine stayed completely silent, but her silence said more than any public statement ever could. On February 12, 2026, she attended a London charity gala, one of her first major appearances since recovering from health treatment. For the occasion, she wore a restructured ivory gown originally designed for Queen Elizabeth II back in 1969. The piece had been tucked away in the royal archives for decades, and its return wasn't random, it was symbolic. It was a deliberate gesture, explained a royal fashion historian. That dress represented continuity, tradition, and the reminder of where true legacy stands. Catherine didn't need to make a speech or address rumors. She understood the quiet power of presentation, and she used it perfectly. Catherine and Zara aren't often photographed together in private, but those close to them say there's genuine respect there. Catherine values composure, Zara lives it, one palace aide noted. The Duchess didn't have to say a single word about Meghan's ongoing online outbursts. Her timeless gown did the talking for her. As for Meghan, her posts kept coming. Cryptic captions and bold declarations like, "I was never invited to their table because they knew I'd build my own." But this time, the response wasn't what it used to be. The public, once captivated by every twist and turn, seemed to be losing interest. She confused attention for support, a British editor remarked. People have stopped choosing sides, they've simply moved on. Real loyalty doesn't trend, it lasts. By mid-February, the tone across British media had started to shift noticeably. Outlets that once handled Meghan with admiration were now taking a more measured stance. Publications like Tatler and The Telegraph began releasing opinion pieces that ranged from neutral to quietly critical. Meanwhile, Zara Tindall's name was appearing in headlines for all the right reasons. Her appearance at a major medical fundraiser in Cardiff helped raise an incredible £4.2 million for pediatric research, an achievement that drew praise from both press and public alike. Her name was even being discussed as a possible ambassador for the British Paralympic equestrian program. Zara wasn't chasing attention, attention was finding her. Even internal palace documents, typically sealed away from the public view, hinted at the changing tide. One memo from the Lord Chamberlain's office reportedly stated, "An institutional rebalancing is underway. Certain public relationships should be prioritized in the national interest." The translation was clear. Zara, Sophie, and Lady Louise were now viewed as dependable and steady representatives of the crown. Meghan, on the other hand, had become seen as a reputational risk, someone who brought unpredictability instead of unity. But there was no formal statement, no public reprimand, not even a direct comment. Princess Anne's answer came through quiet action, a meeting. No cameras, no press coverage, and no leaks, held behind the reinforced glass doors of Clarence House on the morning of February 7, 2026. Those who attended referred to it later as the Restoration Briefing. The subject, Meghan Markle. The purpose, to protect the royal brand and contain further disruption. Princess Anne, the longest-serving royal and the living embodiment of discipline within the monarchy, reportedly led the meeting with flawless control. It was like watching a master at work, one aide later said. It never once mentioned Meghan's name, not out of fear, but because repeating chaos only feeds it. Anne's strategy wasn't about confrontation, it was about contrast. Her focus was the preservation of royal image through calm composure. From that moment forward, the family's collective approach would be one of deliberate restraint. No public rebuttals, no emotional statements, no media sparring, just steady, consistent behavior that spoke for itself. The message was simple: but powerful. Behind closed doors, Anne formalized what insiders began calling the non-engagement protocol. It outlined a few golden rules. The royal household does not engage on social media, does not chase headlines, and never lets emotion drive response. Silence isn't weakness, it's discipline, a palace advisor explained. The idea was to let the noise fade on its own, while the family's quiet dignity stood untouched. But Meghan, feeling increasingly isolated, didn't stay still. Just 3 days after Zara was confirmed as co-host for the exclusive Royal Ascot Style Pavilion, a role Meghan had once been linked to back in 2020, her team made a bold move. A sealed letter was reportedly hand-delivered to a legal firm connected to one of the palace's charitable partners. The contents of that letter, according to insiders, carried an unmistakable warning. If negative implications about the Duchess of Sussex continued, even through non-verbal signals such as fashion choices or event seating, she would consider authorizing the release of unknown senior royals' digital communications. The implication was clear. Meghan was hinting at making private exchanges public. Within the palace, the situation was quietly nicknamed the Windsor Files Bluff. She wants them to panic, but you can't rattle an institution that's weathered centuries of storms. Anne's response was as swift as it was simple. She told the team to ignore it. No public reply, no legal threat, no acknowledgement. And they followed Anne's lead perfectly. Silence, precision, and control. What Meghan didn't see coming, though, was how that silence would ripple beyond the palace gates. In the fashion world, especially in Europe, her reputation was starting to lose its shine. After the Paris incident involving Zara and the intense PR push that came after, several luxury brands began quietly backing away. Chanel, once rumored to be in early talks with Meghan for a sustainability collaboration, subtly shifted its narrative. Without fanfare or public comment, the brand released a new campaign spotlighting its equestrian capsule collection, featuring none other than Zara Tindall as a silent brand ambassador. No press release, no headline, just a sophisticated Vogue editorial that spoke volumes. Meanwhile, Dior and Burberry executives, both of whom had reportedly been approached by Meghan's team to secure her inclusion in their spring 2026 campaigns, decided to step back. She doesn't embody discretion, said a senior French PR director. And in our world, discretion is the currency. While Meghan's partnerships faded, Zara's professional calendar filled naturally and impressively. She was confirmed as co-host of the Royal Charity Polo Invitational, named Equestrian Ambassador for the Commonwealth Youth Games, and featured in Harper's Bazaar UK's special Legacy and Lineage issue. She didn't chase opportunities, they simply found her. She didn't step forward, one fashion editor noted. She just never stepped wrong. Even her refusal to engage became part of her quiet brilliance. The elegance of Zara's response to all of Meghan's provocations wasn't in strategy, it was in restraint. When a journalist at a Glasgow horse trial dared to ask if she'd seen Meghan's latest Instagram post, one that featured Meghan wearing a near-identical version of Zara's 2022 Ascot outfit, captioned, "Real class needs no bloodline," the crowd went still. Zara didn't flinch. She blinked once, gave a small smile, and replied with a single line that would echo across tabloids and TikTok for days. "Some of us ride horses, some of us ride headlines." It was calm, it was cutting, and it was pure Zara, a masterclass in grace under pressure. "I prefer the first option," Zara added coolly, before turning away, a subtle mic plop in motion. That single quote spread like wildfire, picked up by more than 300 media outlets within just 24 hours. It was calm, sharp, and perfectly delivered, a response that hit harder than any public statement ever could. Even Princess Anne was said to have raised an approving eyebrow when she heard it. By the third week of February 2026, the atmosphere inside Archwell was tense. Internal morale had reportedly plummeted, 2 senior team members resigned, and a key investor withdrew from a planned educational streaming project. Around the same time, Netflix quietly stopped approving new proposals centered on Meghan-led content. The momentum she once commanded was fading fast. Sensing the shift, Meghan began to try and reframe her narrative. She hinted at moving her focus towards wellness and women's empowerment projects, while also suggesting in podcast interviews that certain royal figures felt uneasy around outspoken women. Many listeners interpreted that as a thinly veiled comment towards Zara. But once again, Zara didn't engage. While the speculation swirled, Zara was already halfway across the world. She'd flown to Botswana to take part in a rural eco-innovation development program sponsored by the Commonwealth Secretariat. No cameras, no entourage, no glossy coverage, just quiet, hands-on work that spoke for itself. Palace insiders later described it as the defining contrast. On one side, a woman fighting to reclaim attention through public messaging. On the other, a woman earning respect by never demanding it. Zara didn't post, didn't promote, she just showed up and did the work, and people noticed. By the end of February 2026, public opinion had clearly shifted. The charm of Meghan's carefully curated image was beginning to wear thin, while Zara's effortless authenticity was winning hearts across both the UK and abroad. Her usual lineup of exclusive interviews, fashion moments, and emotional sound bites no longer commanded the same viral buzz they once did. Each new attempt to recapture attention seemed to hit an invisible wall, the quiet, immovable force of royal composure. And at the heart of that unshakable calm stood 2 women, Zara Tindall and Princess Anne, choosing grace over noise, steadiness over spectacle. The first real sign of this shift didn't come through a headline or legal dispute, but through a podcast appearance. On February 22nd, Meghan was featured on a U.S. women's empowerment program titled Undaunted. The preview clip was classic Meghan, beautifully phrased metaphors, a polished tone, and perfectly timed emotion. But during the full episode, somewhere between the carefully prepared lines and the off-script moments, her control seemed to waver. She said softly, "Some women stay quiet because it's safe, others because they've been told silence equals elegance. But sometimes silence is just acceptance, especially when you see someone being torn down for being different." The host nodded, but the energy in the room reportedly shifted. According to behind-the-scenes reports, production staff revealed that Meghan had rewritten her talking points 3 separate times and had even requested complete editorial approval, something the show had never granted any guest before. The request, while framed as creative input, was described by producers as unprecedented and usually cautious. What followed after the episode's release made it clear. The once unstoppable narrative that had surrounded Meghan for years was beginning to lose its pull. Public reaction wasn't angry, just indifferent. The audience wasn't leaning in anymore. Meanwhile, Zara and Anne's strategy of steady, silent consistency continued to strengthen their standing. Without ever issuing a statement or comment, they had turned restraint into power. While Meghan tried to speak louder, the royals she once dismissed had shown that real influence doesn't need to raise its voice. It just needs to stand still and let the noise pass. She didn't sound empowering, one producer later shared anonymously. The issue wasn't that Meghan had been attacked or wronged. There was no clear rival, no dramatic scandal to defend against. What people sensed instead was a quiet, undeniable shift. The royal women she once underestimated were now effortlessly outshining her. Zara Tindall had never been one to chase attention, yet by February 2026, she became the most reshared royal on social media, and not because of official palace campaigns, but because of genuine admiration from the public. Clips of her at a Gloucestershire charity event, gently helping a young child with disabilities onto a pony, spread like wildfire online. Comment sections flooded with praise, calling her real, warm, and grace in motion. Then came her comment during a Commonwealth discussion: "We're not above criticism, but we are above collapse." The quote went viral instantly. Within days, it was printed on tote bags, mugs, and even limited edition shirts celebrating her poise under pressure. Fashion blogs began calling her the aristocratic answer to quiet luxury. TikTok creators broke down her style: the fitted blazers, vintage brooches, perfectly polished boots, and her signature effortless tailoring. Every outfit told the same story: understated confidence. When a fan left a comment asking how she stayed calm amid so much public attention, Zara's team responded with a single playful line: "I grew up in a house where the horses had more tantrums than the humans." That reply alone went viral for days, praised as the perfect mix of humor and class. Then, on February 24th, something completely unexpected happened. Princess Anne sent a letter to Meghan. It wasn't a press release, nor an official royal communication, just a private message personally delivered to Montecito through diplomatic channels. Its exact contents were never shared publicly, but according to one well-placed palace source, its tone was described as firm, respectful, and unmistakably final. There was no anger, no drama, just the calm authority of a woman who spent her life mastering the balance between duty and dignity. Composed, direct, principled. Princess Anne's message to Meghan wasn't a peace offering, and it wasn't an attack. It was a quiet reminder. True dignity isn't just passed down through bloodlines, it's earned in the space between headlines, in how one carries themselves when no one's watching. Anne's words encouraged Meghan to reconsider her path, not as a duchess, not as a public figure, but as a woman with the power to choose legacy over attention. Meghan, however, never replied. While Zara appeared on the cover of Country Life magazine, glowing, grounded, and effortlessly relatable, Meghan found herself facing an entirely different spotlight. On February 26th, reports surfaced that U.S. tax regulators, specifically the IRS's Exempt Organizations Division, had opened a formal review into Archwell Foundation's charitable funding model. The focus was on inconsistencies between donor commitments and actual project execution. The inquiry, according to sources, was triggered by an anonymous whistleblower who filed a formal complaint using Form 13909, the one reserved for concerns involving nonprofit organizations. The claims included questions about the classification of certain travel expenses linked to brand promotion, possible conflicts over donor recognition, and large public relations budgets categorized as charitable storytelling. It wasn't sensational tabloid gossip this time. It was a serious administrative review led by officials with no interest in royal drama or media spin. Meghan's Meghan's legal representatives quickly released a brief public comment stating that the Archwell Foundation remains fully committed to transparency, accountability, and compliance with all governing regulations. But inside the organization, the mood was tense. Key staff members were reportedly contacted for questioning, and requests for internal financial documentation began arriving. For the first time, the scrutiny wasn't coming from the British press, it was coming from the US government, and no amount of charm or messaging could soften that kind of attention. Meanwhile, in London, the royal household was quietly preparing, not for retaliation, but for protection. Palace advisors, legal experts, and communication staff were aligning their strategy. The goal wasn't to fight a public battle, it was to ensure that no missteps from across the ocean could tarnish the image of the crown at home. Prince William was said to have instructed the Royal Communications Office to conduct a full review of all Sussex-era media and partnership protocols, ensuring any past collaborations that might carry reputational risk were properly flagged and managed. Princess Catherine, always measured, reportedly guided the charities under her patronage to begin gradually stepping back from any ongoing projects associated with the Archwell brand. Through it all, Zara Tindall stayed entirely out of the noise. When a royal aide discreetly asked if she wished to comment on the rising tension involving Meghan, her response was pure Windsor calm. If you know what you're doing, you don't have to explain what you didn't do. Meanwhile, Princess Anne coordinated closely with the Royal Legal Council to guarantee that the monarchy would remain completely separate from any potential U.S. legal proceedings should Meghan decide to take further action, something she had recently hinted at. Anne made the palace stance crystal clear. They wouldn't interfere, but they also wouldn't get pulled in. "We're not characters in her story," she reportedly said. "We're the page she can't rewrite." Shortly after, a photo surfaced from Los Angeles that sent shockwaves through the international press. Meghan, sitting alone in a cafe, her reflection captured in a storefront window. The accompanying headline read, "Once the Duchess, now on her own." It wasn't cruel, just stark. A visual representation of how dramatically the public narrative had shifted. A royal source close to Prince William summed it up bluntly. "She wanted influence, but she forgot. We don't perform it, we possess it." Back in the UK, Zara reportedly saw the media frenzy but barely reacted. She had just returned from a 3-day veterinary research conference in Scotland and was already preparing for the upcoming Royal Military Charity Gala. To those around her, she seemed entirely unbothered, focused, composed, and moving forward without needing to say a word. As Zara stepped out of her car, dressed in a navy capecoat with a sapphire brooch catching the soft light, a reporter called out, "Any words for Meghan?" Zara paused, smiled faintly, and replied simply, "None needed." The crowd erupted in quiet applause as she walked forward. The grand doors closed behind her, and in that instant, the world's attention shifted once more towards those who chose purpose over performance. Under the gentle drizzle of a London spring, Zara Tindall passed through the wrought iron gates of the royal gardens, not as just an Olympian or the granddaughter of a monarch, but as the newly appointed special envoy for heritage and sport, a position created to honor her decades of service to the Commonwealth and her commitment to representing modern British values with integrity. There had been no press release, no media alerts, no orchestrated coverage. It wasn't needed. The appointment had been planned quietly under the guidance of Princess Anne, who had reportedly said to palace staff, "Let the moment speak for itself." And it did, beautifully. The photos that later surfaced captured more than an event. They captured a tone, the quiet strength of a woman who never sought the spotlight, yet managed to redefine it on her own terms. Zara didn't need statements, hashtags, or headlines. Wearing her grandfather Prince Philip's tie pin, restored, reset, and gifted to her by her mother, Zara stood proudly beside King Charles, lowering her head in a graceful bow as she accepted her new title. Her eyes steady, her posture composed, she embodied everything the modern monarchy hoped to project: quiet confidence and lasting purpose. Her new appointment would see her overseeing royal patronages across the Commonwealth's youth sporting programs, with a special emphasis on empowering women in athletics and expanding equine-assisted therapy for trauma recovery. No glitz, no backstage cameras, just genuine service and dedication. That very same morning, across the Atlantic, Meghan Markle launched a global live stream titled "The Cost of Silence." Filmed from a sleek loft in downtown Los Angeles, the broadcast opened with cinematic black and white clips of her in Windsor years. Dressed in a tailored designer suit and lit with perfect studio precision, Meghan began her address to nearly 500,000 viewers. Her tone started gentle, reflective, before turning sharper. "The monarchy taught me that dignity meant smiling through silence," she said, voice steady but edged with emotion. "But silence isn't peace, it's permission." She didn't name names, but her words drew obvious lines. Meghan spoke about feeling isolated, about being left out of family gatherings, and about watching others build their influence by pretending not to see what's wrong. And as Zara's modest smile graced the evening headlines, it was clear the public had made their choice. Not because of what she said, but because of what she didn't need to say. Her silence had become her story. If you enjoyed this breakdown of the royal power shift, don't forget to hit like, share your thoughts below, and subscribe for more deep dives into the biggest stories shaping modern royalty.